Courageous Self-Confidence, episode 90, or bonus episode to 89. We'll call it 90. Hi, and thank you for gracing me with your presence. You are here for a bonus episode. If you haven't listened to the previous episode with David Wood, a lot of this is not going to make much sense. But I'm going to play a clip that was part of the episode that kind of prompted me to want to reach out to David again and get more of his story. So let me play that right now.
I just know I want to be in Bali. So now I'm in the rice paddies. I'm starting to do a couple of side projects. I played a video game for 8 months, 8 hours a day.
Yeah. David Wood said 8 hours of video games, and this was over an 8-month period, and I really wanted to know more. But before we get into that, I just have to say that there is a little bit of technical audio jargon in this podcast. I had ended up getting it resolved in post-production, so the whole interview is still there. It's just a tiny bit choppy as far as switching over from my audio to his audio. And with that, enjoy the interview. You went to Bali and you're like, this is what I want to do with my life. This is great. And I'm confused. Was 8 hours of video games, was this a form of numbing, or was it your heaven on earth bliss?
Yeah, I think it's both. I love games. I really do. And so sometimes for some of that 8 hours a day, it'll be a blast. Particularly if you mix adrenaline from video games with beer, alcohol, it's a really potent cocktail. And so I was doing that, but hey, if I had better stuff going on in my life, then I'd be playing less video games. I'm a big student of addiction. I've done the Byron Katie work, and she's a big fan of helping people through their addictions. And I started identifying as an addict a long time ago, not in the clinical definition because it doesn't, I'm still very high functioning, but sugar is a drug to me. Caffeine is a drug, and TV is a drug. Video games are a drug. And so I'm usually gravitating towards some kind of medication or numbing. I don't usually start in the morning. I might wait until 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock in the afternoon. And then yesterday I had a beer at about 7 o'clock and played that same video game that I was playing in Bali and really enjoyed it. Now, the first hour and a half is usually great. After that, it can be counterproductive, as is the case with any addiction. So I think addiction is not in itself bad. The question is there profit in the addiction? We're addicted to water, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of downside to that, so no big deal. But if you find that your sugar addiction or your TV addiction or your video game addiction or your alcohol or whatever it is that you're using habitually, if it's detracting from your life, then you might want to play a game called Cut It Back. I just went and visited a friend, and I was inspired by how little he watched TV. And I realized, wow, I've started to rely on TV way too much. And by doing that, the TV gets less fun. So I came home and I created a game. All right, I can watch TV 3 to 4 times a week. That's it. And I have a goal of stopping the last episode by 9:30 so that I can wind down for bed and get better sleep. That's a game I'm playing. Answer your question.
There's this concept that I had heard in high school from an English professor. We're studying, like in English, you study like some of the Latin roots and stuff. So he was really into the term "all things in moderation," which is something you've probably heard a lot in all of your addiction training and stuff.
Yeah. I've been scared of addiction since I was a little kid because my parents drilled into me, if you take sleeping pills, you get addicted. And that just sounded like a really bad thing. So I was scared to use them to my detriment. There were times when I had a doctor begging me to take some kind of medication. I said, no, I've got to white knuckle it. I got to get through this. And he was right. It was really hard for me. And what I've discovered for myself, like the first time I took sleeping pills for 7 nights in a row, I was so scared. I thought, I'm going to be addicted. I'll have no power. But I was having a lot of trouble sleeping, and the doctor seemed to think it was okay. After 7 days, I was able to taper off. And it was like, oh, wow, I did it for 7 days. I didn't get addicted. Then there was another time in my life where it was 30 days. I was really struggling, and the doctor said, look, I'm not worried about you. I think you'll be fine. After 30 days, I tapered off. So addiction in itself, I'm not worried about getting addicted to any one thing. What I look for is what's the cost? So what are the side effects? And am I going to build up tolerance, which means that this cool thing is not going to work for me anymore? And I had one medical professional said, it sounds like you know your body and you rotate what you use so you don't build up any particular tolerance or side effects to something. And I said, yeah, that's about right. Now, my ultimate vision of my life and anyone's life is where I don't use anything like that. Maybe it's once a month I take a beer just for the pure joy of it. Or it might be a couple of times a month I'll jump into and play the game for 45 minutes. That's my ultimate vision. And maybe TV is 1 or 2 really good movies a month. I think that would be really cool. And fill my life with other things. Like, for example, what I'm doing right now, I just bought a ping pong table. It arrived yesterday. So that's something I can do. I've got a piano. I've got a guitar. And when friends are saying, hey, do you want to go and audition for a play? Or tomorrow, do you want to go and drop in on an improv class? I'm saying yes, because I know those will be fun things that I'm doing, which will draw energy away from some of the addictive things. So that's how I handle it.
It looks like our connection is a little bit strange, and what we're on a Zoom call right now, and what happens with Zoom is sometimes it will draw out or it'll speed up, depending. So a lot of that was just distorted. I want to ask you about specifically. Well, first of all, are you comfortable sharing what that game is?
Oh yeah.
What is it? What's the game?
It's StarCraft 2.
Okay.
StarCraft 2, and I don't. Long time ago, someone introduced me to Warcraft 2, and I got so into that, and I'd be up till 4 a.m. and my girlfriend would be saying some of the characters' sayings because she'd hear it in the background, and that was a real addiction and so much fun. Oh my God, I get so into it. Part of it is I love to learn, I love to train, I love to get better. And then for years, I stopped playing that because it got old and it wasn't supported, and I could not find another game. I don't like a lot of online games or PlayStation games, but anything that involves building. You're building a community, you're building a system, you're building something. I love that. I'm a nerd for systems, and I get to do that. So StarCraft 2 scratched that itch, and it was the evolution of Warcraft 2. And it's so popular, Samuel, that in Korea, they have the characters painted on their national airline. They have kids go to school. You know, instead of going to school to be a doctor, they can go to school to learn how to play StarCraft 2. It's a national pastime, and that's when I discovered what an e-sport was, an electronic sport. They have stadiums with thousands of people, and I want to go to one. I've never been, but I'd love to go to a stadium and have thousands of people, and we're watching
Where's
people.
Where's this school and country?
Korea.
Oh, yeah.
Koreans are amazing. Yeah.
Now, the reason why I wanted to bring you back on is because there's a lot of the people in my audience that have self-esteem issues. They're constantly numbing. They're constantly numbing with an unrestrained diet, an unrestrained body. All kinds of things that have just gone down a really bad rabbit trail. Alcohol, drug abuse, video games. Video games is one of the things that I've struggled with in the past. So when I heard that part of your story, I'm like, am I enabling? Am I encouraging people to numb, or am I not? So that's like really my heart in identifying that. Is there anything else you want to respond to what I just said?
Yeah, look, for me, addiction's been a dance, and I seem to be doing the dance pretty well. But I acknowledge it. I feel the pull. I was sitting with a friend a couple of nights ago, and it was my non-TV night. No TV, no drinking booze, no smoking weed. And I could feel the pull. I wanted to go and watch Game of Thrones. So, and it's incredibly engaging sometimes. So I just want to acknowledge that it's definitely a dance for me. And if you're in the dance, listeners, I would be looking at what's the profit in your addiction. Are you getting more out of it than it's costing you? And if it is, okay, then enjoy it while you're enjoying it. If you feel like you could tweak it and get more out of life, maybe you limit your TV. Maybe you have a couple of alcohol-free days and then find something so fun that you're happy to not drink on that day. If you're really having trouble, then I recommend the Byron Katie work, thework.com. I think it's wonderful to hack into your own thinking and work out what's generating the addiction. And you might want to get professional help as well. I don't know much about that because I haven't gone and done that. But yeah, addiction in and of itself, I don't think is a problem. Addiction is a problem if it's costing you more than you're getting out of it. Is it impacting your relationships?
Addiction is one of those words that sounds very negative. There's another word, obsession. Obsession is a little bit more neutral because you could be complete. I mean, like you look at Mark Twain. He was obsessed with writing, right? Does it mean that it was wrong, right? You're talking about profit, So very interesting discussion here. Does this tie into your new book about naming the mouse? I'm just wondering, because this was something that was really eating at me, and it was really a stopping point for me. I didn't even feel it would be possible for me to be cool with myself and release the episode as is. So does it tie in at all?
It does. Name that mouse, because the elephant isn't the only animal in the room, is about transparency. It's about revealing your own experience to other people. And one of the categories of mice is a mirror mouse, where you actually reveal your experience to yourself and you're honest with yourself. So I think you could definitely name a mouse with yourself if you've got an addiction and just own it. Go, yeah, I'm addicted to that. There's a compulsive quality, and you'll really find out once you start playing a game of limiting that. You'll find out how strong the addiction is. Last night, the game was to not start another episode after 8:30 p.m. And I was like, I actually thought it was Friday. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give this to myself. That's an example of where, oh, wait, that's this compulsion here. So name that mouse will give you a chance to be more honest with yourself. And you can be honest with other people too. Yeah, I've got a TV addiction. Yeah, I've got a sugar addiction. Yeah, I've got an alcohol addiction. Maybe not the clinical definition, but yeah, I take it every day, and it's hard for me to have a day without it. Let's start with that. We'll start with honesty, and then you can work out what you want to do, whether you're going to limit that or you're going to go for it because you're like, you know what, I enjoy it, and I don't think the cost is that great, and I consciously choose to do it. Enjoy it. You might as well. Here's what I recommend not doing. Don't keep doing it and then beat yourself up for it. Either do it and choose it and enjoy it, or choose to limit it or stop it and get some help if you need to.
Well, I was just about to go there because one of the things that I've seen in people I've interacted with and even listeners as I've gone on this journey is one of the biggest things that hammers and hurts someone's self-esteem is just this. Someone saying, never again, not one drop ever again, and then they do it again. And sometimes the same day, right? And they just haven't gotten a handle, and that's where that grace has to come in. And you're saying, hey, either enjoy it or stop it, but like don't beat yourself up over it. Right.
Yeah, and this is helping me right now because I realize if I could go back in time, I have a value. Like I said, I can watch TV 3 or 4 nights a week. So I've been shooting for 3, and then this week I did use my bonus night. I like myself more on the times when I do stick to my own boundaries. And your listeners may find that as well. You just like yourself more if you stick to it. You know, you can feel that sense of feeling proud. Imagine a month from now telling your friends, oh yeah, look how much I cut this down. I'm feeling really good about myself, and I've replaced it with exercise and whatever. I want you to have that good feeling. But in the interim, if you're not doing it, you find you're not doing it or it's too hard, my wish is that you have compassion for yourself, just as I just got for myself. Hey, Wednesday was a tough day, and I wanted to give myself, that injection of TV, and I enjoyed it. It was actually a good time. Be kind to yourself.
Yeah, there's one other piece of this is we talk a lot about, everything we talk about in this podcast and your podcast, it's all self-help. And I think that one of the most important things to remember about addiction is you cannot fully 100% help yourself. Like, you actually need help. You need to talk to somebody about it. You need to converse, and you need to spot it out. I don't know anyone that's gotten over some really serious addiction without being open and vulnerable about it, with somebody else.
Yeah. And I told you I'm into games, right? That's one of my addictions, but you can play a game with your addiction. Sometimes I've made rules like, okay, if I want to have a beer, I have to do 20 minutes of stretching first, or I have to take the dog for a walk first, and then see how I feel. And I may feel at the end of that, like, you know what? I don't need a beer, or I'm going to delay it another hour because here's something that seems really cool. Yesterday, I went and played a game without a beer to see what that felt like. And then I played the game, and then I'm like, that beer is going to go down well. So then I went and got it. So you can play different games with your addictions and different rules. If you can't stop something, maybe you can delay it and do something that's good for you before you do it. I think that might head in a good direction.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming back on. And I have one last burning question for you. It sounded like you had a rude awakening when the law enforcement knocked on your door and said, hey, you're breaking the law. Were you in a place of like living on the edge, like kind of knowing what you were doing, or were you completely 100% blindsided? I
knew that it was illegal. I knew that subletting a villa, subletting a room was illegal because in any country, if you don't have a work visa, you're usually not allowed to earn income, do anything. In the US, they wouldn't care about it. If if I was a visitor and I rented a place and I subletted a room, they call it
entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, no one cares. They don't really consider that a business. In Bali, I understand they need to watch out for that because people can maybe take away income from the locals. So I consciously chose to do it anyway. I knew I wasn't alone. I knew a lot of people did it, and I thought that I had mocked up the consequences because I'm a risk analysis expert. I used to be an actuary, and I thought I'd mocked it up. I thought it could involve being deported and a fine, and I was willing to risk that. I didn't think the risk was very high, and if it did happen, okay, I was willing to do it. I had not mocked up that my flimsy shield was so flimsy because it was through the name of a local, and I thought he'd be my shield. I hadn't really mocked up. If they question him, he's going to fold like a house, like he's going to fold like bad laundry, right? I hadn't mocked that up, and I hadn't mocked up that they could put me in jail and try and get a bribe from me while I'm in jail and string it out, perhaps indefinitely. I don't know. That was scary. Had I mocked up that, I don't think I would risk it. And also, if I do go back to Bali, I don't think I would ever risk that again, because here's the thing. When you're out of integrity, like I was, you are signing on for potential drama. That's how you create drama. Do something that's not going to be okay with a group of people and try and hide it. And so I figured in this case I was willing to take the risk, but I was not. It was more consequence than I realized. And I didn't also muck up the adrenaline. Like, jail is a scary proposition for me. And so had I had it over again, I think I would have skipped doing that and taking that risk. And it was a really good lesson. And so I can scan my life now. Is there anything I'm doing that's illegal, or anything I'm doing that any of my friends or colleagues would be unhappy to hear about? Like, it's a great scan. Do a threat assessment in your life. Anywhere where the answer isn't, oh, no, everyone's good with what I'm doing, there are no secrets, there are no skeletons in the closet, then okay, you're great. You've probably got a recipe for a very low drama life. But if you do have any skeletons in the closet, then you might want to look at dismantling those or coming clean, or, there are ways to dismantle that so that you can have low drama.
Okay. You said specifically that you're living out of integrity.
Right. And doing something that's out of integrity for me. For someone else, maybe their version of integrity is they could break a law. And look, I'm willing to break laws. There's some laws that I don't agree with, or I don't agree with for me. And apparently I'm willing to go 5 miles over the speed limit. And I'm willing to risk getting fined. So some things you may be willing to do. But I was breaking a law created by the people who I really respect, and I love the Balinese and I want to support it, and here I am doing something against the system. And so it's off for me.
Times like that, you have to not just use your brain, you got to use your heart and spirit a little bit.
Well, both. I think that you might want to follow what your heart says, and I think the brain can also get on board and say, hey, this is not going to work out very well. It's not going to work out very well for you. It's not going to work out very well for your friend. A lot of people don't mock up the consequences. Like people who go to Bali, jump on a scooter for their first time in their life and ride without a helmet. Are you kidding me? They're not mocking up what could happen and the chances of doing it. So I'm a fan of, let's work out what could happen. I'm going to keep a secret from my partner. If that comes out, that's probably not going to be very good. It's going to erode trust. Right. So maybe I'm going to come clean, and I'm going to take it on the chin. What is it?
That's good. Take it on the chin. There you go.
Yeah, take it on the chin instead of having someone that could bite me later on. I'm a big fan of that. And name that mouse. I had a friend in Australia who started coming clean in all areas of his life, and he called immigration. He said, look, it seems like I've overstayed my visa, but nothing's happened, and I'm just wondering, what do you want me to do about it? And they said, we've never had anybody call us. And they didn't know what to do. They said, you know what? If I was you, why don't we just leave it? And, maybe this isn't going to be an issue. And he's like, okay, well, thanks. They was just stunned. And I love stories like that. Mate, I've got to jump in a minute, but this has been super fun.
Well, there you have it. There's the bonus interview. Wow. What a discussion. What a conversation. You'll notice that the conversation was really light and open. So if you liked this discussion and conversation, I would love to hear your feedback. You can email me at couragehub@gmail.com and just share with me what you got out of this episode. If you struggle with addictive behavior, that's really sapping your confidence, reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation. We can start a dialogue by email. We could even talk over the phone. This is really important stuff. And being able to move people out of a place of addiction and into a place of really thriving and living into who they truly are, I am all about it. And I have a lot of cool tools that has helped me and that has helped clients. So if you want some, information on that, be happy to help you with that. And until next time, live courageously. This is Samuel Hatton signing out. I absolutely love feedback, and I am actually looking to get some input from you, dear listener, on the future direction of the Courageous Self-Confidence podcast. So if you have any ideas or you have any input, or maybe you don't have ideas yet, but you have, you want to help out, email me at couragehub@gmail.com. And let's have a conversation. I'd love to get your input.